안녕하세요 친구들 모두 잘 지내시나요? 저는 해노시고 제 채널 Learn Korean with 해노시에 와서 것을 환영합니다. 이번 영상에서는 한국어 알파벳 즉 한글을 함께 배워보고요. 글을 시작해볼까요? Hi friends, how are you all? My name is Hanosh and I welcome you to my channel Learn Korean with Hanosh. In this video, we are going to learn Korean alphabet together. So let's get started. Let's start with our first Korean alphabet, Geok. Dear friends, you don't have to remember the name of the letter right now. Just try to focus on the shape it looks like, sound it produces. And guys, this is Geok. This Geok produces two sounds. A soft G sound like G in goat and K sound like K in kite. Now what we have to do is we should remember the shape of the letter and the sound it produces together. For that, I have created a mnemonic image for you, which is a gun. If we see the shape of the gun and the shape of the Geok letter, they both looks like similar, right? So whenever you see this letter, you should recall a gun image. In that way, gun will help you to remember the shape of the letter. And the first letter in gun will help you to recall the first letter of Geok. The G sound of Geok. Now let's talk about K sound. Let me ask you a question. What do we do with a gun in a battle game? In mobiles or PCs. We kill enemies, right? So G for gun and K for kill. That's it guys. Let me tell you once again, this Geok produces two sounds. One is G sound and another one is K sound. And the trick is we should remember the gun shape. Gun will help you to remember G sound and kill will help you to remember K sound. Let me give you two examples regarding this letter in Korean. Gogi, which means meat in Korean. Guys, this is romanization. I try to give my best to reach the closest pronunciation of these Korean words. So try to understand. And the second one is Gada, which means to go. So that's it about Geok letter, friends. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. And guys, and dear friends, we are at the second Korean alphabet, which is Neon. Again, I am telling you, you don't have to remember the name of the letter right now. Just try to focus on the shape it looks like and the sound it produces. And dear friend, this is Neon. This Neon produces an N sound like N in noon. Now what we have to do is we should remember shape and sound together, right? So the trick is nose. If we observe the shape of nose and the shape of this neon, they both look similar, right? So whenever you see this letter, you should recall nose. So nose will help you to remember the shape of neon, and even the first letter in word nose will help you to remember N sound, right? So that's it. In a simple image will help you to remember everything about neon sound. Now let me give you two examples regarding this N letter in Korean. So the first one is Nara, which means country. And the second one is Namu, which means tree. I hope you learned the second alphabet. Now let's move on to the third Korean alphabet. And dear friends, we are the third Korean alphabet, which is real. This real looks like this. And this letter gives two sounds. An R sound like R in row and L sound like L in line. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, I have created a mnemonic image which is racetrack, dear friends. We see the racetrack. This racetrack and the letter is kind of similar, right? So the first letter of racetrack and the line, which is finish line, will help you to remember the L sound because it starts with L sound, right? And racetrack also start with R sound. In this way, racetrack and the line will help you to remember R and L sound. You can think like race line, like this, R and L. Now let me show you two examples regarding this letter. Radio, and the second one is ribbon. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. So dear friends, we are at the letter D good right now, and this D good looks like this. This letter produces two sounds, a D sound like D in door and T sound like T in tape. Now what we have to do, we should remember shape and sound together, right? So for that, the mnemonic trick is door. If we observe this part of the door, it always resembles this letter. I mean the shape of the D good, right? So whenever you see this letter, you should recall a door image. In that way, door will help you to remember the D good letter, I mean the D good shape, and the first letter in D will help you to remember D sound. What about T sound? To remember T sound, why don't we think like a door with tape on it? Like a door with tape on it. D and T. So we can remember D sound and T sound together with the help of this door. Now let's talk about two more examples. So the first one is Dari, which means bridge or leg. And the second one is Dal, which means moon. So dear friends, we are at the letter Meum. Meum looks like this, and Meum produce M sound like M in map. Now we have to remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic image is mat. If we see the shape of the mat and the shape of the letter Meum, they both looks similar, right? So in this way, mat will help you to remember shape of Meum, and the first letter M in mat will help you to remember M sound, which is produced by Meum. Let me show you two examples regarding this letter in Korean. So the first example is mul, which means water. And the second word is moon, which means door in Korean. So dear friends, we are at the letter Bup right now, and Bup look like this. Bup produce two sounds, a B sound like B in boat and P sound like P in pot. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic image is bucket. So if we see the shape of the bucket like this, this part of the bucket and the letter B, they look similar. And whenever you see this letter, you should imagine this letter as bucket. So bucket will help you to remember the shape of the bug, and the first letter B in bucket will help you to remember the B sound. What about P sound? Let me ask you a question again. With bucket, we pour water, right? So pour. Bucket and pour. B and P. B sound, we covered B sound and P sound. So let me show you two examples regarding this letter in Korean alphabet. So the first one is Bada, which means C in Korean. And the second one is Bull. The meaning of bull in Korean is fire. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet, Siot. Friends, we are at the letter Siot right now. Siot looks like this, and Siot produces S sound like S in C. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic trick is scissors. So dear friends, if we see this part of scissors, it resembles the shape of Siot letter, right? So whenever you see this letter, you should imagine this letter as scissors, and scissors will help you to remember the Siot shape, and even the first letter in scissors will help you to remember the S shape, right? That's it. Let me give you two examples regarding this letter in Korean. So the first one is Sagwa, which means apple, and the second one is Sarang, which means person. That's it friends. Siot is very simple. I hope you learned Siot very well. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. So dear friends, we are at the letter Eung right now. This letter looks like this, and this letter is very special. You know why? If it is at the beginning of a syllable, it is silent. But if it is at the end of a syllable, it sounds like ing sound, like song. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic image is ring. So dear friends, if we see the shape of ring and shape of Eung, both look similar, and also the last sound ing will help you to remember ng sound like ing sound in Eung letter. So let me give you two more examples regarding this letter in Korean alphabet. First one is I, which means child, and the second word is undong, which means exercise. That's it friends. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. So dear friends, we are at the letter Geot right now, and Geot is kind of looks like this, and Geot produces J sound like J in Jeep. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, mnemonic image is jeans. If you see this part of jeans, this shape of jeans, it resembles geode shape, right? So whenever you see this letter, whenever you see this shape, you should imagine this shape as jeans. In that way, jeans will help you to remember shape of geode, and the first letter in jeans will help you to remember J sound. So that's it guys. Geode is very simple, and let me give you two examples regarding this letter in Korean. So the first word is jeep. which means house in Korean. So the second word is jari, which means seat. That's it about geode, friends. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. So dear friends, we are at the letter geode right now. Geode looks like this, and geode have ch sound, like ch sound in cherries. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, I have created a mnemonic image which is cherries. If you see the shape of cherries and shape of geode, they both look similar, right? So whenever you see this image shape, you should imagine this shape as cherries. So cherries will help you to remember the shape of geode. The first sound ch will help you to remember the ch sound of geode. That's it guys, and let me show you two examples regarding this alphabet in Korean. So the first one is 친구, which means friend. The second word is 장문, which means window. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet, kyuk. So dear friends, we are at the letter Q right now, and Q looks like this, and Q produces K sound like K in kite. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic trick is K. So dear friends, if we see the shape of K and the shape of cube, they both look same, right? So whenever you see this letter, you should remember this shape as key, and key will help you to remember the shape of cube, and even the first letter in key will help you to remember the K sound. So dear friends, this is geode and this is how it looks like. Now let's talk about the sound it produces. Geode has T sound like T in tap. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic trick is teeth. So dear friends, if we observe this part of this comb, it resembles the teeth shape, right? So whenever you see this letter, whenever you see this shape, you should imagine this shape as teeth. In this way, teeth will help you to remember teeth, and the T in first will help you to remember the T sound. Right? Let me show you two examples regarding these words in Korean. So the first one is toki, which means rabbit, and the second word is team. That's it guys. Now let's move on to the next Korean alphabet. So dear friends, we are at the letter P right now, and this is how it looks like. Now let's talk about the sound it produces. It has a P sound like P in pot. Now you should remember shape and sound together, right? So the trick is poles. If you see the shape of poles and the shape of P, they both look similar, right? So whenever you see this P shape, you should imagine this shape as poles. In that way, poles will help you to remember the P sound and even the P shape also. So dear friends, let me give you two examples starting with P letter in Korean. The first one is pal, which means arm, and the second word is podo, which means grape. So dear friends, we are at the letter E right now. Now let us see how it looks like, and now let's talk about the sound it produces. This H has H sound like H in hat. hat. Now we should remember shape and sound together. For that, the mnemonic trick is hat. So dear friends, if we observe this person's head and hat and this letter, they look similar, right? So hat will help you to remember the shape, and even the H will help you to remember the sound het, the sound of hyot. That's it. Let me give you two examples regarding this hyot in Korean. So dear friends, let me give you two examples starting with hyot in Korean. The first word is hosu, which means lake. And the second word is haru, which means one day. So that's it for today, everyone. Now you officially know the consonants of Korean alphabet. In the next video, we will cover the vowels and start building real syllables. And don't forget, I'll upload an MCQ challenge video, so make sure to try it and test yourself. If you really enjoyed this lesson, please like, share and subscribe to support this channel. Until then, stay learning, stay shining and keep your passion burning. And I'll see you in the next video.